Hello and welcome to another video on Adobe Photoshop. And today we're going to be talking about the main menu of Adobe Photoshop. In the previous video, we talked about the interfaces and the workplace. And today we're going to be talking about the Adobe Photoshop main menu. So let's get on with it. So when we talked about the interface and the workspace in the previous video, I already told you that this over here from the file option, the edit option, the image option, the layer, type, select, filter, 3D, view, plugins, window, help. These are the main menus of Adobe Photoshop, and today we're going to be talking about each of them. So let's begin with the file option over here. So the file option is basically, as you can know, suggests that this works with the files in Adobe Photoshop. So you can use the new option to create a new file. Like if I do this, it will give you the option to create a custom file or use a default Photoshop or use any saved or photo or print or art and illustration, web, mobile, film and video. Here you can basically make a video and this is the resolution. So the first one is 1920 by 1080 pixel and the second one is 1280 by 720 pixel. Then you have the mobile option over here and you can actually see some models over here. And then there is the art and illustration, the web most common, web large, web medium, and web minimum. So you can basically make a document or a file in this format that is given over here, and there are some varieties of the formats over here, so you can basically choose a lot. So that's about creating a new document. And now let's talk about the open option. So the open option is basically the option. So when you use it, it will take you to your photo folder on your PC or your hard drive. From there, you can basically choose any picture or video or whatever you want to, the component that you want to use in this Adobe Photoshop tool, right? So what you can do is you can simply left click on the open option and it will take you to your photo folder and you will be able to select any photo that you want like this. So it's that easy. So then we have the browsing bridge option, and this is basically where all of your saved formats are. So you can go to the browsing bridge option when you have multiple files in a core folder of the Adobe Photoshop tool. Since I don't have any now, I cannot show it to you. Then there is the option which is open as. So you can open a document like this, or you can select a JPG file or a GIF file from this box over here. And I think it's pretty easy like that, right? So let's move on now and we'll talk about the open as smart object. So this option is basically the option to help you to open a document or an image file or a vortex file that you will be transferring from the Premiere Pro or any other Adobe tools. Then you can use this to open that object or the document or the file as a smart object so that it can actually work much more efficiently in the Photoshop tool. So let's move on. So this is the open recent option. As you can see that when you hover over this option, it shows you the recent files that I have opened in Adobe Photoshop. So I have opened this one and this one, so which basically means that these are the options, so you can go back to the other files. So right now I'm on this one, so I'm going to select this one, and as you can see that I have been taken to the first picture that the preview window was on. So that is for open recent. You can also use this option, which is the clear recent file list, which you can use to actually delete these files that have been saved automatically in Adobe Photoshop. Okay, so now we will talk about the close option. So this option is basically to close the file that you're working on like this. As you can see that I have been working on two files, and one of them has been deleted, and I have one background file and one JPEG file. So what I can basically do right now is that I can close it in any way by also using the hotkey, which is Control plus W, that is also mentioned here, or use this option. And then there is the close all option, which basically closes all the documents or the layers or the photo images that you have working on. So, and now let's talk about the close other options, and its hotkey is alternate plus control plus P on the keyboard, and you can basically close all the other panels over here. So for example, that now I'm selecting this option, this panel over here will be deleted when I use the close others option. So that is pretty simple, right? You can basically work efficiently when you're done with an option, and you can delete it by using that file option. So now let's talk about the close and go to bridge option. So as I've already explained what a bridge is, it's the storage for all of your images file, or the central unit as you can call it. So you can basically close all of the windows over here and go to the bridge if you have multiple files saved. So now let's talk about the saving options. And if you edit one of the features in this picture or anything else, you can basically save it. So right now it's in default mode, so I cannot save right now. So what I can do is I can basically create a shape over here like this and put a color, yeah, okay, like this. And then so we can simply create a shape and then use one of the coloring options. So I'm using the brush options like this, and I have just made a change to this option over here like this. And now what I can do is I can save right now. So if I click on save, I can save this edited image like this, and then I can use this save as option to actually edit the name of the file, and also where I can save it, or I can also save it as a Photoshop file or a large document format, BMP, Photoshop EPS, GIF, IFF format, JPEG format, PCX format, Pixar. So there are varieties of formats available for you to save it as. And let me cancel that. Now let's talk about the save a copy. We can save a copy of this in another folder or anything, and to do that you simply need this option. And now this is the invite to edit option. So basically, if your Adobe account is connected to someone, you can ask them to help you in this option, and to do that you can easily use the invite to edit option. Then there is this share for review new. You can use this option to actually share it to someone and for them to review it. And then there is the export option. So in the export option, you have the quick export as PNG. So basically, you can export this file as a PNG file immediately using this option. And then there is the export as option. You can export this as a file that you can actually choose. Like, so now I can export this file as a PNG file or JPG file or GIF file. I can use any format that I want, and then I can make it transparent. I can make it a smaller file for an 8-bit, and then I can also set the image size. I can set the width, the height, the scale, and the resample. Also, there are some options over here like the bilinear, nearest neighbor, so you can use all of these options. And you can also have the size change by using this option over here, the scaling option, then this suffix. So basically you can use export as to customize the file in any way you want. So that's it for the export as option. Now let's talk about the other options over here. So right now I have the export preference. You can add a preference in this option, save for web. So what this does is basically you can upload this image to the web, and you can actually make it a GIF file or a JPEG file, and you can also edit it in some way and make the transparency colors and then upload it in the web easily. So that is the option like this. So I'm going to use cancel right now, and I'm going to talk about the generate option. So the generate option is basically it generates some image assets that the images have. So as this is not an image, I cannot use this option. So if you have an image assets, you will be able to use this option. Now I have the search Adobe stock over here, which basically enables me to search on the Adobe stocks for some files or documents. And then there is the place embedded option, the place link. So these are basically connected to some other Adobe tools, so you can use them to enhance the transferring options of the Adobe tools. And then there is the automate option, and there are some sub options like batch, PDF presentation, create droplet. Oh, and you can use this option to create a droplet over here. And then there is the crop and straighten photos. So you can crop the photos and straighten them out in any way you want. And then it is the contact sheet, the conditional mode change, the feed image, lens correction, merge to HDR Pro, and the photo merge. Then you have some scripts option, the import option, the file info, which will let you see the information regarding the file over here. Then the version history of the tool, the Adobe Photoshop tool. Then the print option, it enables you to print the file that you have edited. And then there's the print one copy, and then there is the exit option. So that's it for the file. Now let's move in to the edit option over here. So now let's talk about the edit option over here. And there are some options which are the undo deselect, which basically means that I can undo what I have deselected in the file over here when we're editing, right? So like if I have worked on this, I can basically use this option to use the undo brush tool, because I have been using the brush tool, right? And so I have did it and the brush tool has been undone. Then there is the redo brush tool. So this basically is the thing that if I have created something over here like this, I can use this one to deselect the brush tool like this. See? Then I can redo the brush tool again by clicking on it, and this comes back. So this is a very efficient option. And then there is the toggle last state, which actually toggles it and basically gives you the option to use it again like this. So these are pretty interesting and pretty helpful for your information. Then you can use the fade brush tool option. You can basically select how much percentage you want to use for the fade. And for example, I like to use 50, not 150 but 50. And now I can click on OK, and as you can see that the line that I have selected before and the line that I have drew right now is totally different because I have actually made this a faded brush effect. So you can use the edit option for the faded brush effect. Then there is the cut, copy, copy merged, paste, paste special, and the clear option. So if you're using one component from here to here or another component from here to here, you can basically cut them, copy them, or copy merge them together. Then there is the search option, which basically gives you the option to search for some things in the Adobe Photoshop file or the tool that you're using. It's pretty helpful because you can actually browse some options over here, which is the hands-on tutorial, the tutorials, quick action, what's new. So you can discover and explore this option over here, which also gives you the user guide option, some resources, some community support, plugins, fonts. So you can use the discover option for that. Now let's talk about another option, which is the search. So now we're going to be talking about the check spelling option. So when you use the text option over here, like I'm going to use to write something, like I'm going to write in point. Let me fix it for you. Yep. So if I write in point, you will see that. So now I can write something like point over here, and then I will make a mistake like I can use this, and then I can select this and then use the edit option and check spelling option. And as you can see that it will basically change the option to needle point, so which is a valid option to the Adobe Photoshop tool. So you can also have the option to ignore it or ignore all or change all. So you can also type in something over here that you want to type, and it will change it to the needle point option. So now I can click on done, and this suggestion will be pasted over here like when you click on it. So now I'm going to undo what I did like this. And now I'm going to be talking about the find and replace text. So basically you can use this option when you have multiple text written here. So you can write one of the words that you want to find, and then you can basically change it to and select all of them like whole and whole words only, and you can click on done by changing it, and you will see that all the words that you have changed will be changed together for that particular word that you have written over here. It's that easy. So now let's talk about the transform options. So transform option have the scale option, the rotate option, the skew option, the warp option. These are basically you can use one of the shapes to use or customize its features like scale, rotation, or skew. And you have the option to rotate it to 180 degree, 90-degree clockwise or the counterclockwise or the horizontal flip or the vertical flip. And then there are some other options like auto align layers, auto blend layers, sky replacement, define brush preset, define pattern, define custom shape. So these are basically effective for the layers, which we will talk about soon in another video. And these are the define brush preset. So the brush that you will be using to paint or curve a line in this Photoshop tool, you can actually define its preset or the pattern that you're going to use it to, or the custom shape that you want to create. Then there is the purge option, which basically enables to purge some files or layers or the effects that you have put inside your edited objects. And then there is the Adobe PDF presets, the remote connections, color settings, assign profile, convert to profile, keyboard shortcuts. So keyboard shortcuts are basically one of the important things that you would like to use in Adobe Photoshop, since there are some, not some, but many features. So you can basically use this option to create some hotkeys or shortcut that of the tool that you will be constantly using in the preview window. And then there is the option for menus, toolbar, and the preference. Now let's talk about the image, which gives you the, sorry, let me fix it by clicking on Control D. So now let's talk about the images file. Okay, so to talk about the image option, we should get over to this component that we have selected. And now let's talk about the image option. So in your option, you have some modes like bitmap, grayscale, duotone, indexed color, RGB color, CMYK color, lap color, multi-channel, and also you have the 8 bits channel, 16 bits channel, 32 bits channel. You can adjust any of them in any way you want. You can also choose the coloring theme or the option from here. Then there is the adjustment option. So if you want to edit a photo, you can basically use this adjustment option by clicking on the image option and the adjustment option, which will give you some sub options like, let me show you. So you can select the adjustment option and select the brightness and contrast to increase its brightness or contrast or decrease it. Then the levels, the curves of the picture, the exposure level of the picture, the vibrance color level of the picture, the hue or saturation, the color balance, black and white, photo filter. So these are the editing effects that you can use in your picture very easily. You also have the option for HDR toning, which will tone your picture in an high definitive resolution. Then there is the desaturate. So when you use the saturation option, you can desaturate using this option. Then the match color option, replace color or equalize. Then there is the auto tone or the auto contrast or the auto color. So basically you can use a layer to auto tone one of the pictures that you have, and we will show you the auto tone, the auto contrast, and the auto color in a later video using a layer over here. Now there is the option for image size. You can customize the size of the image. Then there is the canvas size, and this black part would be known as the canvas. You can change its size using this. Then there is the image rotation. So you can use the 180-degree like this. It's pretty easy. And then you can use the arbitrary option. You can choose any angle as you want. So I will write 48 and counterclockwise. Okay. And it will change like this, as you can see. So I'm going to use Ctrl Z to undo what I did. I'm going to show you the image rotation 90-degree counterclockwise. You can basically change its shape using this option. Then there is the crop option. So if you want, you can crop the photo using this option. Then there is the trim option. So if you have a borderline over here, you can use this option to basically trim it in any way you want. Then there is the reveal option. You can reveal everything of the picture in any way you want, like this. How much you want to reveal is that easy. And then there is the duplicate option. You can duplicate this file in any way you want, like you want to duplicate it. So I'm going to change its name to 23, and now I'm going to click on OK, and you will see that I've got another layer or a panel over here which shows me the duplicated image of this one over here. So as you can see that both of them are same because we duplicated them. Now let's talk about the apply images. You can basically apply some images over here. You can find the sources, like I have found these two options. I can merge them together, and the layer, I have the option to make a single layer or a merged layer. Then the channel, I can change it to RGB, which means red, green, and blue. So you can use them all together or singly, like red, green, and blue. So this is the apply image option. And then there is the calculations, variables, apply datasets, trap, and analysis. So these are for the images option. Now let's talk about the layer option. So the layer option has the new option, which gives you the option to create a new layer or background from layer, group from layers, artboards. You can basically use these options to edit the layers over here. So we are going to talk about this in another video when we have a layer over here, and we'll talk about them. Now then there is the quick export option or export as, or you can rename a layer by selecting it in the layer panel over here, and you can change the style of the layer with any option you have in the Adobe Photoshop tool, and these are the default option. Then there is the smart filter, the new fill layer, the adjustment layer, the layer mask. So you can mask a layer over here, the vector mask. So you can actually mask a vector file if you're working on it. Then there is the create clipping mask, mask all objects, smart object. We talked about smart object in the file option already. Then there is the video layer. You can create a video layer by clicking on this, the new video layer from file, or new blank video layer. Then there is the rasterize option, the new layer base layers, the group layers, or the hide layers. So I can hide the layer like this, and I can also unhide the layer in any way I want. So to do that, you simply have to click on reveal all or click on this eye icon over here. It's that easy. So now what you can do is you can lock your layers, which will basically make sure that the layer that you will be working on is locked and it cannot be edited. So you can simply go over there and unlock the layers. Since I have not locked it, I cannot unlock it right now. Then you have the option to link one layer with another. Then you can select link layers together, then merge layers, merge visible, flatten image. You can actually make an image flatter by using this option. Then there is the matting option. Now the type, you can get some more fonts from the Adobe website using this. Then there is the panel option. Some panels like the character panel, paragraph panel, glyphs panel. You can use these panels from here too. Then there is the anti-alias option, orientation options, open type options, extrude to 3D options, create work path, convert to shape, rasterize type layer, convert to paragraph text, warp text, match font, font review size, language options, update all text layers, manage missing fonts, and load default type styles, save default type styles. So basically, the ones that are not highlighted in these options are because these are mainly used for videos and some advanced photo editing. When you apply another effect, then these effects will be included over here and it will enable these options then. Now let's talk about the select folder. You can select all together over here, then the deselect or reselect or the inverse. Then you can select all layers or deselect all layers or find one layer by searching its name. Then isolate layer by putting it on a side and don't work on it or it won't get mixed in the components that you're working on. And then there is the select and mask, so you can select something or an object or a component and you can mask it. Then there is the modify option, the grow option, similar option, transform selection, edit in quick mask mode. You can edit in a quick mask mode in this option like this. So basically, for example, I want to mask this part, the red parts over here, so I can basically mask it like this, and it will be using this effect when I will be saving this file or exporting this file. So I'm going to undo it like this, and I'm going to let's talk about all the other thing. So I'm going to deselect this so I don't use this mode now. So now let's talk about the filter option. So this will help you to apply some filters over here. So you can convert for smart filters or neutral filters, and you will have a filter gallery. And there are some filters like the adaptive wide angle, camera raw filter, lens correction, liquify, or the vanishing point. Then there are some options or effects which gives you the option to use filters like generating bump in 3D mode or the blur options, averagely blur the image or box blur or Gaussian blur, and then the lens blur. So you can use the distort effects also. So these are basically the filter folders you can use to edit the photos. Then there is a 3D option. You can create a new 3D layer from this file. Then the spherical panorama, get more content. You can use this option to get some more content from the Adobe website. Then you can use this option to create a new 3D extrusion from selected layer. For example, if you have a layer selected over here which is already a 3D, you can extrude some of the effects from it and create another layer over here. So you need to use layer and the 3D features on when you will be able to use these options. Then there is the option to create some new mesh from the layers or the new tile painting from the layers. So this is for the 3D option. Now for the view option. So the view option is basically the option which is used to view what you have done. So you can use the proof setup, the proof colors, or the gamut warning, the pixel aspect ratio. So if you don't like one of the ratios like the square one, you can change it to the D1 DV. So it is a 0.91 option. And then there is the zoom in and the zoom out, the fit on screen. So these are pretty basics. And this is the 100% which will fit this image over here in 100% size. This is the option to select the size when you're printing this component. Then the actual size, the screen mode, you can use the standard screen mode, the full screen mode with the menu bar, or the full screen mode. So it's pretty easy when you're using Adobe Photoshop. It's basically like a PowerPoint on its own. Then there is extras, show, rulers, which is a very useful tool. Then there is the snap option. You can use this option to snap from one tool to another. Then there is the guides option. You can lock guides, create a new guide, and there are some options like the lock slices. So the plugins is basically the plugin panel. If you plug in something in your Adobe Photoshop tool, you can use this panel to enable the plugin panel and use it. Then the window panel we talked about in the previous videos. we talked about the workspace. Then there is the arrange option. You can arrange the files over here in a vertically or two of horizontal. In that way, you can enable the 3D option. Then there is the actions, adjustment. So these are basically the panels or the additional panels that you would like to have over here when you are editing a photo. Then there is the help option, which basically helps you with anything that you would need in a Photoshop tool. So I guess that's it for today, and I hope to see you on another lesson.